be down in Arizona, but I know there's a lot of activities this weekend. And then Monday and Tuesday, I'm excited. So grateful again to be asked by Dave. We go way back. We've done this before in 2018. But I'm, more excited because it's in Denver, in front of our home fans and in our own ballpark. And I think Denver's ready to really represent Colorado, the city itself, our fans. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a blast.
And you mentioned on Sunday of Herman how much you've watched him grow up, and how proud you are. I'm curious what the growth you've seen from when you first met him, saw him on the field, to now.
Well, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, probably, in a nutshell, we've seen him grow, not only as a pitcher, but as a young man. And, as far as, his stature on our team, so well respected by his teammates. He's a great teammate. He's very humble. He's a great worker. He sets a great example for young pitchers now who are coming through our system, who get to big league camp, who get to the big leagues. All those guys who are rookies in 17, Herman, Kyle, Antonio, John, preceded them by a year. But what a good group of young guys. And Herman, again, just, continues to get better as a pitcher. And I think, I think he really understands, his place on our team and what his status means. And it's really fun for me, and proud to watch this, right? And as far as the All-Star game, it's very deserving for him.
Buddy, first of all, with Dave, I know you guys have been friends for a while, colleagues in San Diego. Even when you get competitive, how do you stay friends through all that?
Well, I think that, we're very competitive. Trust me, as you guys know. I got a lot of other managerial contemporaries out there, and we all know our competitiveness against each other during the course of the season. But Dave and I work together. We're good friends. I mean, you can separate it. I think it's part of being professional.
All right. Hey, with Herman, every pitcher is a little bit different. During a ball game, you just describe how Herman is, how much he likes to communicate or doesn't like to communicate. And are there things you see in him that maybe you see from the dugout that we don't see to let you know he's on or off?
Well, again, you're right. I think that every player is unique in how they go through a game once the pitch one is thrown. Both position players and pitchers. But Herman, I think in game is obviously focused. He's intense, but there's a calmness to him as well. And I do think, we've seen growth in, his emotional state, during the course of the game. I think that we've seen him, early in his career, at times get tangled up. But, as each year has gone on and each start has happened, he's got much better at that, as handling his emotions and, being able to process things during the game, which is a great trait of, learning from experience. Now there's, to the point where, the conversations are different than they were a few years ago. It's more strategic. It's a little bit maybe mechanics, and he can make an adjustment. The conversations are more in depth and a little bit deeper in what we can talk about. And that's just, his experience, whether it's, how we're going to attack hitters the next inning, his conversations with the catchers, his conversations with Fosty. It's all it's much more mature than it was a few years ago. And that's just growth.
Yeah, and just from watching him, it seems to me also he is more communicative than maybe some pitchers. Some pitchers don't like to share or discuss a lot of things. It seems like Herman, even in the no-hitter, he's talking with Diaz. Maybe you didn't want to talk to him a lot that night, but still, it does seem like he likes to have discussions.
He likes to interact, in game. You're right. Some guys don't. Just me personally, I like that when I was pitching. I like the conversation. I think Herman also, Antonio might be a little bit more quiet. Kyle will converse. John might, the conversations with John are a little shorter, but yet, John can converse. So, with Herman, there's a relaxed nature to him in game, but yet very competitive.
Getting back, Michael seems to give you another option late in the game. How much does that change some roles? Like I know Chacin moved later in the game. Do you move him earlier, or does he stay an option then? And what about some of the younger guys?
Well, I think Chacin still is an option for sure late. I think with Michael, these next few days, we don't know how this game's going to play out, but we could ease him back in, in certain situations to get him, back in the, get him back in the mix, to get his feet back on the ground, because it's been a couple of weeks. But, to your point about Chacin and Kinley and Estevez and Gibbons, Bard, they'll all pitch, right? And hopefully, the games are such where, we can spread these guys out a little bit to keep them rested. The last week to 10 days, we've had a lot of close games, but it's good to get him back.
Okay, just to check on Stevenson, where does he stand? And also Matt Adams, as I'm watching him play some first base out there, where do they stand now? Any movement in their situation?
Yeah, Matt, no movement there. Matt's feeling good. We're just, waiting to potentially activate him. He's ready. He's physically fine. Stevenson feeling better. Still not able to, to really play a real good game of catch yet, but he is improving.
Okay, so I guess with Stevenson, you realistically not till after the break?
Probably.
Okay. All right, and I think that does it for me. Thanks, buddy.
Okay, Thomas.
Patrick, go ahead.
Thanks, Shelby. Nice work. Nice work. Buddy, I'm going to ask a couple all-star questions from a little bit different vantage point, if you don't mind. You're going to be having in Denver next Tuesday, some of really bright, young, exciting stars, Tatis Jr., Acuna Jr., Vlad Guerrero Jr., and I guess you could even throw Ohtani in that mix. How good, from your perspective, are these young, exciting, charismatic players for the good of the game?
Oh, it's wonderful. It's fabulous. These guys are, uber talented, right? We've seen Tatis firsthand now for a couple years, up close in our division. What a player. Vlad Guerrero, we saw him, 2 years ago in interleague play. I think the Blue Jays were out here. Another very talented young player. Ohtani, pitcher, hitter, power, speed. We've seen Acuna. What power he has, speed and power combination. These guys are superstars at a young age, and if they stay healthy, what a bonanza for the game. To have these guys as ball players, as entertainers, whatever you want. They're players that people want to see play. They're gonna come to ballparks and see these types of players because they are wonderful and talented. So, and to be in Denver on one stage, it's great for baseball, and moving forward, to watch these careers, unfold. These fantastic, talented players.
I was talking to your good friend Joe Madden about this the other day. And I asked him about, these guys he called them charismatic. He also said they're a little bit flashy. And Joe said, if I had my druthers, I wouldn't have bat flips and some of the other stuff. But he said, you know what? Every generation is a little bit different. And he said, if it bothers people that these guys are kind of flashy, et cetera, get over it. You agree with that? And the idea that, you know what, these guys have a little different flair to their game, but maybe that's a good thing.
Well, I think we've seen that happen, over the last number of years. And you're right, Pat, it's generational. And, these kids have played a lot of baseball, as young players, and they have style, right? And this is, I think, a new wave of what we're seeing from ball players. But I do know this. These guys respect the game. I think they do respect their opponents. I think they do respect the competition. But they're doing it with a style and a flair that they show emotion, right? I mean, and I think the thing that stands out, the other players are good with it. I mean, if you look at, the 800 major league players that are going to play tonight, I think most guys are good with this, where a generation ago, it probably wasn't the case. So I think, those of us who've come from a different generation, like Joe was saying, that wasn't part of the game. Now it is. And I think, again, this game is about the players. There's no doubt about that. And the players set the tone, for the game. And this is how it's sort of shaping up. And I think that all of us understand that. And to your point, we all have to understand it. And if there's some old traditionalists out there who don't like it, like to your point, get used to it, because I think it's good. It's not going to go away.
And one more for me on that topic. Perhaps this is something that's going to be compelling to young kids, make them watch baseball, maybe make them want to play baseball.
I think so, right? When you see these types of players, and it's see the talent and see the flair, they're fun. I mean, they're entertaining to watch. And I do think, though, that players over time will, end up policing themselves, so to speak. There'll be a line drawn at some point about some of the flair, but right now what's happening, I think it's okay. I think it's fine.
Great, thank you, buddy.
Yeah.
Mark Stout, go ahead.
Hi, buddy. On Herman, just two questions. He had sort of a tip of the cap on Sunday. Was he reluctant to do that from the dugout? Can you give me a little bit on that coming out to the crowd?
I'm not. I don't think he was reluctant. I think he's. I don't know if embarrassed is the right. He's really humble and he's shy in a lot of ways. But I think the guys sort of got him out there once he was recognized as an all-star. They sort of pushed him to doff his cap. But I think he enjoyed it. I don't think he was reluctant. He's just shy.
When another person in baseball, regardless of their level, asks you about German Marquez and says, I don't know about this guy, but he's an all-star, what do you tell them?
What do you mean? Say that again. Ask that again.
If somebody that doesn't see the Rockies play and they're like, German Marquez is an all-star, what do you got on this guy? I haven't seen him pitch. What do you tell those people?
I mean, you can put, as far as the talent, you can put his talent up there with the best starters in the National League. If you grade him out from a scouting scale, above average fastball, above average breaking pitches, a feel for a changeup. He's legit. For me, when I hear other managers, coaches, players talk about German, they rave about his stuff. They rave about him as a pitcher. He's legit. You can put him in the conversations with the top, 10, 15, 20 starters at least in the big leagues. right? I mean, DeGrom's at the top for me, and there's a bunch of guys below DeGrom, and Herman's one of them.
One last thing. If he is to pitch at Coors Field in the All-Star game, how will you feel as his manager?
I'm pumped, excited, can't wait. I'll be super happy for him, his family, the Rockies fans. I'll be super, super excited if that happens.
Thank you, bud.
Okay.
Hey, Grote, go ahead.
Yeah, buddy, two quickies. You're better lit on Shelby's phone than normal. Actually, she's the Scorsese to your De Niro or something.
Oh boy, yeah. I mean,
How's his hair look?
It looks good. Yeah.
white.
No, it's good lighting.
All right, good.
Actually, speaking of though, to follow Patrick, was there anything about your generation, like maybe in the mid '80s, that traditionalists didn't like? Was it, did people call out your mustache or long hair or anything from?
There was, how we started wearing our pants. Remember, George Hendrick was the first guy really to wear his pants basically down to his shoes and not show any stirrups, not show the socks. I remember some old school guys, generation before me said, "What? You guys don't know how to wear your uniform." So the long pants, was a little bit of an issue. Then guys started wearing tight, their pants a little tighter, and the old school guys, hey, you guys, your uniforms are too tight. It was a little bit about the uniform, a little bit about the hair, right? There was a little bit, some longer hair started coming in. Joe Pepitone in the '60s sort of started that, I think, with the longer hair. That became, sort of a thing in the '80s. There's a little bit more emotion, right, shown after a home run. Maybe not to the extent of the bat flips, but some outward emotion, through the '80s that probably didn't happen in the '60s and '70s. So there were some things. There were some things for sure.
I always love a good Joe Pepitone reference, but on a more serious note, I know you've been asked this 100 times, but I gotta ask again because your home record is better even than it was in 2018, which is wild. And then and then the road record is different. Have you come up with anything? Is this just a quirk?
I would like to. I wish I tell you what, we bang our heads against the wall trying to figure this out. We really do. It comes down to, looking back at this, we're just not producing enough offense on the road. We're trying different things, pregame as far as our work, having discussions with the players, doing everything we can to, come away with a real solid, ball game offensively, and, on the road, make the pitch late in the game that, can maybe spin it our way. So, we just got to, just keep at it. But, we haven't, come up with, any one thing or a couple things that we're trying to identify, except